When you're just talking about the gaps that these teams have, this is where the transfer portal helps so much. Yes, the best of the best, the Ohio States are still going to be able to. We landed Caleb Downs. We landed Will Howard. We landed this. We landed that. But you know who those schools are going to continue to overlook? Those recruits that they continue to overlook. The Cam Scadaboos of the world, who started at Sac State. And what did he do? 2 years at Arizona State, become one of the best backs in college football, who's out there making these wild plays to keep his team in it. Those guys giving them just another avenue to find the overlooked guys is a big thing. And I think that's where it helps as well, too. And I think, Corey, one thing I want to ask you about, too, is someone who you beat the top team in the country. You beat Alabama. Yes. What do you think the biggest key is to upset? Because that's what every Big 12 team is going to try to do when they make the tournament. They're trying to upset one of the biggest brands in the sport. What do you think the biggest key to that is?
Well, play to your identity. Play true to your identity. I think teams too many times outcoach themselves, right? Mm-hmm. I think Georgia outcoached themselves against Notre Dame. Sark outcoached himself against Arizona State and still won. Yeah. Got lucky. Tennessee outcoached themselves against Ohio State. Like, I think if you stay true to your identity and then you somehow be able to, in an upset situation, what Vandy was able to do in their particular situation is they knew coming into that game what they were and what they wanted to do, and they executed it to perfection. They controlled the clock, and by doing that, they put pressure on Alabama, and Alabama did not know how to handle it, and they folded. Yeah. And I think if you get a team down like that, I think that's how Arizona State got into the Big 12 championship, ultimately winning it and then putting Texas on the ropes. I think they understood, hey, our game is going to go through Scadaboo. Mm-hmm. I keep wanting to call him Scadaboo because there's only
it
one.
Looks like Bo. It definitely does. Yeah. And yeah,
Scadaboo, yeah. They say, okay, our game's going to go through Cam Scadaboo. Okay. And we know that. We know we're going to be a tough physical team. It's going to operate through Cam Scadaboo. We're going to take opportunities on defense. We're going to be aggressive, and we're going to come after you. And they did that, and that's how they got to that point. And Texas just had made 2 more plays than they did to win that game. The same with Vandy and Missouri. Missouri just made 2 more plays than Vandy did and ended up winning that game in double overtime. Same scenario. Almost same exact scenario.
Yeah.
Where the first overtime, you had them on the ropes. Missouri and Texas both hit a deep shot to extend it, and then it was all she wrote from there. But that's the kind of thing is you play to your identity, and you do you better than the other team does them. And if you can somehow make yourself dictate or take control of the game and dictate the tempo, the pace, the clock, the field position, start dictating some of the terms, the other team has to try to play catch up. The other team tries to play like you, and it's over. That's how Michigan beat Ohio State. They forced Ohio State to try to play Michigan football, and Ohio State is not Michigan. And Michigan was 7-5. They were not good at all. And that's what they did to Bama too. They imposed their style of play and really forced Bama into a corner. And DeBoer didn't know how to respond. Ryan Day didn't know how to respond. Thus, both teams lost.
Yep. And it changed the college football landscape. And that's what the beauty is that these schools that in the past didn't have a chance to do that, now that ability and identity is such a big part of it. And I love that you brought that up. All right, Corey, the Diego Pavia situation is absolutely wild. I'm going to let you explain it a little bit to everyone who doesn't know what's going on. And because I'm going to tell you this, Utah is a wide receiver who played in 5 games. It was his freshman year. Mm-hmm. There's now a waiver in to get, he played it at Arizona. So it's not the same JUCO thing, but there's a lot of people who think his is going to have a good chance of passing. 1, because everything's got a passing right now. And 2, in large part because of Diego Pavia winning another year eligibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that set the bar for a lot of things. I think the NCAA is just going to say, you know what, we don't want any pass. Okay, you all get a pass. We're about to change the rule anyway, so hey, everybody enjoy that extra year and do with it what you want. Yeah, I don't see any potential roadblocks there. I think it'll pass. I'd be surprised if it didn't. And I kind of like that Pavia is shaking things up because I think it's, there's going to be a lot of good things. And obviously, with good, there's bad. You know, I don't think you can have a perfect scenario. So there's going to be some situations where, you know, JUCO is used for these big time players that go play 2 years of JUCO football and then go straight to the NFL. You know, there's that fear. I don't know how often that'll happen. Maybe not very often. I think JUCO football will be revived a little bit, especially for the guys that don't qualify. I think that'll be a good route. Like you can see some really good dudes that don't qualify end up going to JUCO to get their 2 free years, and then they test the market out in their first year in their new home. And then if they feel like their draft stock is way up, they'll jump in the draft. If not, they'll take advantage of 4 years of NIL. Or 5 years now, because I think the NCAA is going to just a blanket 5 years.
I think eventually, yes.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's official or how they're going to do it going down the road, but I don't think JUCO is going to count. It's going to count like prep school, where it doesn't count on your clock. So theoretically, you could play 6 years or 7 years of college football now.
7 potentially, yeah. Wow.
That's insane. It's changing, man. If you don't like change, man, you better just go root for like the NBA or something. It's coming, and it's gonna shake things up a lot. And you know what? I'm here for it. Just don't get attached. Like the idea of getting attached to your roster on that is gone by the wayside.
Oh,
like,
yes.
It's a professional sport now. With
Tennessee coach the other day, Rick Barnes, basketball, was like he's not doing what we're paid to play him. Like I think some people didn't love it, but it's like that's exactly what's going on now. Like it's not that.
As long as you understand it, I think you know people take things way too personal.
We're dealing with that at Utah right now. A guy went to a rival.
Everybody deals with that. I mean, you know, I'm sure Vandy loses people. Everybody loses people. Everyone's dealing with that. It's not a singular problem for a singular program. Everybody loses somebody to a rival, and the fans just they're making a business decision at this point.
Yeah.
You know? Like who cares? Like they're not, it's like just root for the jersey, root for the logo. Whoever's in that jersey, whoever's in that logo, root for them. Don't get used to them, but root for them and just move on. If you treat it like pro sports, then I think you'll feel a little bit better about the player movement and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's such a complicated thing. The Pavia thing, like when I first heard, it's not what the rules are. So then that I don't love it, but
a lot of people off, man. It threw a lot of people off, I didn't think he'd get it. I honestly didn't think he'd win that case, but he did.
I didn't either. And it's the same thing with the Dorian Singer, the Utah receiver. Like he played in 5 games. Like that's the rule. But also I'm someone who wants to see these records like Cam Ward just set one. Like all these guys who get to play 5 years, like they got to set these records. I think it's right if moving forward we have everyone be able to play 5 years. I just hope they do pass that soon. It sounds like that is the plan, and then I'll feel better about the situation. But what they end up doing with JUCO is another thing that is absolutely just fascinating moving forward, and the precedent they're setting. And it's just it is a wild time to be in college athletics right now.